DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
And go.
Everybody just freeze. Just hold yourself.
Just don't move.
They'll think we're frozen.
Wait, what's that loading thing that's on there?
It's a circle.
Well, on that note, since Emily just kind of gave it all away, made me laugh. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Monday night. Yeah, there you go. See, you can freeze it. You can do it pretty well there. We've got a great show for you tonight. In fact, so good, we couldn't wait till 10 o'clock. And we couldn't do it as just John and I. It had to be John, myself, and Mike Wazowski. Oh, I mean MJ.
No, I was what do they call that? Cyclops. What's the? I can't even think. The green guy from Shrek. I was Cyclops Shrek.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
It's just pointless.
He was green with the one eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Monsters Inc. Great.
Yeah.
I'm on TV.
For once in a while. But anyway, so here's the thing. We are talking music tonight. And John's got one kind of point of view. I've got another. And MJ has his own no matter what we were talking about. So we are going to have some fun tonight. And we want you to join in with us as well in the chat room. That's why we're bringing it to you. YouTube, we are on Facebook too, right?
We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're just almost everywhere.
So, like, if you're not watching us live, you kind of miss out. But anyway, we want you tuning in, giving those tidbits and pieces of information as well, throwing them in there. But tonight, it's what do we do next?
Exactly.
What's coming next?
That when you get to that time where you're picking music. I mean, a lot of us have been playing. Doing virtual events or doing virtual performing and such. So you have kind of a playlist already set up in advance. And in many situations, if you're doing clubs, you have a playlist set up in advance. But what about those times where you don't? You're playing live. And how do you decide what the next song is? And this is something that as there's more people getting into this fall, I've had people asking this question. Younger DJs, this is kind of a common thing. It's like, okay, I know I got this hit, but what do I follow it up with? How do I decide what to follow it up, and in essence, what's next? So I want to go through, guys. I've got a kind of a different areas in which some criteria, for lack of a better way to describe it, and I want to kind of throw it out there and ask, have you kind of share how that affects your decision on playing the next song. Now, MJ, for those of you who don't know, kind of comes more from a club. He does kind of clubs, and then he also does some teen dances. He's done some school events. Dan is wedding, and he does a little bit of school events. And I basically sit here behind this microphone. That's all I do anymore. That's it. So,
True, you've played out. We've seen pictures.
yeah, I did that one show that one time. It was great. It was really great. Grandma said I was her favorite DJ, so I was pretty happy. By the way, that was my grandma who said that. The other lady thought I sucked, but hey, I don't like her either. So, anyway.
Oh.
Don't tell anybody it was his wife.
So tonight, it doesn't really matter what the song was we were playing. That's not a part of it. What we're looking for is the thought process behind what you're judging to bring in the next song, how these things kind of rank and how important they are to you, and we'll kind of go through that. So Wexford mentioned in a chat room that retiring recently. This is kind of a night, though, even someone who, like Wexford, who's been there, done that, and is kind of getting out of it. This is a night where you can share in the chat room, if you wouldn't mind, how you kind of pick the music. You know, some people work in sets. I know DJs who have 3-song sets that they play at weddings all the time, and they just basically are maneuvering the sets back and forth as needed for the night. But share as we go through when it's an appropriate time to say, hey, I kind of do something like this, and I do it this way, and we'll go from there. So the first one, guys. When you're doing a show and such, how important is it for you to match the genre of the current song when you're picking your next song? MJ, I'll just kind of bounce back and forth. MJ, is the genre super important to you when you're picking that next song?
I would like to preface everything I'm about to say tonight with this statement. If I talk too long, please excuse me. You know I'm very opinionated about music.
I
I also want to. I also want to.
Do we have a timer we can put on the screen?
hang on. I've got something better than that.
I also want to preface it with the fact that everything I say is just my opinion. So keep that in mind. It's not a fact. It's not a rule. It's just my opinion. When it comes to genres, I don't believe. This is why I don't believe this. Oh, that's my time. Sorry.
It works. Okay. So
I don't believe you have to worry about it because years ago, when Apple put out the iPod, they put the shuffle in there. And this generation has the random play in Spotify and stuff like that. They already have a mindset that jumps around genres. So if you're smooth about the mix and be able to bring, if it's a different genre but still something they know, and you're able to transition between them, absolutely.
Dan, what's your thoughts? Genre, is that important to you?
So I came from radio background and kind of trained in where I was doing was top 40 and kind of like a hot AC type of format. So we oftentimes would stick with something that made sense, like sets that make sense. So for me, it is genre makes sense. Like when I'm thinking about what I'm going to play next, I'm not jumping from a hip hop to a country song to a rock song. I know I probably could, but it to me, I have to have something that transitions, that flows from one to the other for me, not just a hop, skip, and a jump everywhere.
And myself, I'm very much like Wexford just mentions, 2 or 3 songs of the same genre. When I'm doing, especially weddings, is what I do a lot, where I'm going to be hitting a couple here and then move to a couple there, and then finding transitions between the set of 80s music to the 90s things, and finding a couple of songs that would.
That's kind of what I meant. I didn't mean just constantly change genres.
No.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I would have to go. Like I said, I'm trying not to talk long because what I do is a science with this, and it's very detailed. So I'm trying to keep my talking to minimum.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to try to get into most of your areas in this conversation. That's my goal of this.
And no, David Wolf, I am not trying to work in a country song. Blah.
Yeah, David, we know we know better. He really does.
I think it's one of the things also where those sets make sense in a lot of aspects, the 2 to 3 sets, because from a programming standpoint, I remember talking with a guy when I first started getting into like bar and club style mixing. The idea was that you want to rotate your dance floor. All right. So at a wedding, you don't necessarily want to rotate everybody, but you don't want to make sure you're leaving anybody out. So if you're stuck in one genre for 5, 6, 7, 8 songs, unless you're quick mixing, you're there for a chunk of time. And so doing it 2 to 3 songs allows them to kind of get that feel, kind of get that urge to come out. And then they also know that, you know what, if I don't like the next one, it's okay. I don't have to necessarily stay on the floor long listening to a style that maybe it's not my favorite before he's going to come back to something that's a little bit more in tune with what I like.
So MJ, that kind of bridges to a couple of different areas, but I want to is the changing of the floor. Is that something when you're playing? Is that something you take an account for? You think about very often, or is it something that you just let it happen naturally as people's tastes vary?
All right, this one's going to be long.
That's
because
okay.
I have to explain, because everything you're asking is all around what I base my stuff off of. So I can't answer that question without telling you the basis of all of them. Okay, so first thing, every place you DJ is going to be different. Every night you DJ at each place is going to be different. Every hour in each place is going to be different. So you have to be flexible minute by minute as you go along. So that's why I said, yeah, absolutely switch genres if you need to, because I'm telling you things, you have to be up with that. It's a live, living, moving thing. Every DJ who is a mixed DJ is always 3 songs deep. So you have the one you're playing, the one you're about to play, and the one you're going to play after that. And then you have a plan B, which is either 1 or 2 songs that if somewhere along these 3 it fails, you have a plan to go to something else like that. And then your plan C is one of those just absolutely hit songs that you can't go wrong with it. If these are just falling off the cliff, you have that one to go to. So it's always everything you're doing falls into that flow of things. So back to your question. There are 2 things, and I talk about this on another thing, that there is keeping an eye on the dance floor and keeping an eye on the room. Reading the room, reading the dance floor. For a lot of places I DJ at, You do not turn over the dance floor because there's no seats. Nobody's sitting. Everything's standing. The entire place is dance floor. The bar, at about an hour after it opens, is at least 2 to 3 people deep the whole night. So you never have to worry about getting people to drink. So all you're doing is driving the floor for 3 hours. And that's why mixing is so important, because you're not talking to them on the mic, because they don't want you talking on the mic. So you're mixing for 3 hours, keeping them involved is a part of what you're doing. But if you take a step back from that, about looking at the room, those are the ones that have the seats and the stuff that you do need to think about bringing them in and out, because that keeps things fresh and keeps them buying money, because those places usually the bar isn't stacked 2 or 3 people deep. That's the one you do need to turn over. So I think there are 2 different ways to read, again, depending on where you're at. 10 o'clock at night, you may be DJing the room. 11 o'clock at night, you may be DJing the floor. 1 o'clock, back to the room. You know, it's that's why I say that it's tough to answer these, because it is a living thing that's changing. And I really think a good DJ can observe that as it changes and work with every piece of it as it goes along. Sorry, I talked too long.
No, that's good. That's
You're
good.
fine.
Yeah, that's why having that perspective is so important for tonight's discussion. So let's kind of jump back into the actual songs and such. We talked a little bit about genre being important. The concept of the tempo or BPM of the song, pitch or key, how much does that play into the selection of your next track? And especially, MJ, you were mentioning the set. Obviously you've got a set for however based on that, and then your plan B song. How do those differ or vary or change in regard to the tempo and such?
Usually the way I do the search is when I'm in my mindset, I'm looking at BPM first. And BPM usually then follows by key range, but it is not a rule for me, key range. But because the way Virtual does it, it'll show me the key difference. So all I have to do is look over to the right, and if it's either a 0 or 1, that means it's either on key or 1 off. Either one of those is playable. Usually you have a lot when you search by BPM that fall into that. So you can extend that search by saying BPM and genre, hip hop, top 40, whatever. So now you've kind of narrowed that down a little bit to where you're looking at the BPM and genre of what you're playing, like Dan said about trying to do a set of the same things. Then you're kind of picking the key. But all of that, like you said, when it comes to the plan B or plan C, it can be a beat match transition, or it can be a scratch and drop. It can be some sort of trick that one of the ones I always do that I show people, I think it's a good one, is you hit the, like on the old record players, when you hit the power and it would slow down and slow down and slow down. That one of mine on that is I'll drop a slower BPM song and I'll hit the slow down. And as it's slowing down, I'm scratching, drop. To where you've completely changed the BPM. You've made your own transition and you just dove away from that song at any point you need to. Because I'm telling you, sometimes you need to get away from it and it lets you take that over to the other side. So it's important, but it's by no means a rule.
Dan, what in your situation, do you pay attention to those things?
So I follow BPM almost sometimes to a fault, to the point that I kind of get myself stuck in this frame of mind that, I can't get away from the BPM. I can't unless I'm doing a drastic change, kind of what MJ was saying, and I don't want to do that all the time. So for me, I get stuck in this frame. So sometimes when I'll come up or somebody will come up and ask for a request, I'm like, man, that's nowhere near where I'm at. Like it's going to be at least 6-7 songs before I can figure out a way that I'm going to get to where I want to get to and then get back down to where they want. And so sometimes that, for me, that becomes the biggest angst that I deal with, is wanting to go in a different place than where I'm at. So I have a couple different tricks or a couple different transition tracks that I actually have just in a folder, transitions to help me. Or even just like kind of MJ, I have, just they're that slam drop that's going to be like a change, and it's okay, but because it's like that intro allows me. When it comes to pitch, for the longest time, I didn't do anything with pitch. Like it's not even one of my columns in Virtual or Serato, anything. I just didn't touch it. Like I just didn't even worry about it. That school of thought has started to change for me, especially over the past 6-7 months, as I've been able to practice and kind of play and just really get into the idea of, now I'm not just looking for songs, but now I can be a little bit more picky, because I don't have 20,000 songs in my folder. I now have the hits that I want to deal with. And so picking from them becomes a little bit easier, and it allows me to say, okay, now I'm not just searching. Now I can take that extra 5-10 seconds because I'm not searching through a whole bunch of garbage. and I can just find what I want. And so I've done a little bit more. I haven't transitioned that to playing in public so much. I think I've done some smaller, like 20-minute sets to go, okay, now I'm starting to feel this. All right, now I'm just going to start mixing because I don't want to focus too much on that and kind of lose my vibe by being too robotic, for lack of better terms. So
too restrained by sticking to those rules.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And with the pitch, as MJ said, I mean, you know, key. Yeah. The better. So, you know, being on a key or being within the harmonic matches, is awesome because it's going to feel a little bit better. What I've noticed is when I wasn't worrying about it, as long as they didn't sound like, it was fair game because to me it was like it was better to get to where I wanted to get to speed wise or otherwise than it was to go, oh yeah, that really sounded like that was cool. I like those two together.
One of the tricks I do is that because I said virtual lets you see the difference, and like I said, I don't worry about what key it's in. I just see how much difference it is. You can do a 6-key difference that is such. It creates a minor key harmonics that is its own transition effect because they are so this way with each other. It creates its own transition effect. So you can sometimes just choose one that's that far off intentionally to change the genre, and it gives you your own new little type of transitional sound. I know people out there going, "What's he talking about?"
No. You did some demoing of this one of the shows we did. I remember you had some fun, like, and experimented and demonstrated. It was pretty cool until you actually get a chance to. Okay, so let's jump to the next one. Timing of the night. Does that affect your song choices? Dan,
I literally have to wait. I'm just going to say this, and Dan can run with it, because I literally have to wait to drink my Red Bull or Monster Energy drink, because if I drink it too early, I'm just jumping right into the hit songs. I just want to get into them. So timing is, to me, it's important. You can't shoot all your ammo before the enemy gets there. So, yeah, I'll let Dan run with it.
You know, and the funny thing is, it does factor to a degree, because I have a hard time throwing out every hit, because then it's like the last hour and you go, crap, I got to somehow get through this last hour, and I got to, you know. But the nice thing is, what I've noticed is they're a little bit more intoxicated. So you really can kind of do whatever, you know. So does the time of the night have an impact to a degree? But with weddings, you know, you've got everybody there in the beginning, so it's not like you're biding time while the doors are opening and people are filing in. Like, dance floor's open, you almost have to go hard or go home, because if you're not, what's pulling them out? Now, what is go hard or go home might not be what is the hit song, you know, number one or even the top 100 on the Billboard currently, but rather what is going to have that biggest effect and hit hard for the event. So, you know, Mike Walter, I think, even talked about this a couple years ago, where the idea of don't wait. Like, what are you waiting for? Because you are going to have some people that are going to leave because this guy hasn't played anything good yet. Like, you know, in their mind or whatever. So going at them and using those tracks to kind of catch their attention, keep them there. And then again, not everything all at once, but front load is not a problem.
Yeah, I would always, like, let's say, for example, when Mo Bamba was a hit, you had to play that, except for the places that didn't. I actually had 2 places here in the city that said, do not play that song. We do not allow that song to be played here. But it was such a huge song that, like a lot of those hits, Dan, you wait, like in my place, because you have people constantly coming in and out. You have constant traffic. It's not like Dan's, where everybody who's going to be there should already be there eating dinner, you know. So we'll have to set that hit song up like 30 minutes in advance, saying, okay, 30 minutes from now, I'm going to play Mo Bamba. What do I do to got to get there to keep that flow, to keep their attention, to get that right to the point where when Mo Bamba hits, it goes freaking bananas. So it's timing for me that way, as opposed to that, because like I said, ours is, especially depending on where you DJ in the city, one of the streets has places on both sides of the streets all the way down. So people bar hop the whole night. They'll come in for a drink, leave, go to the next place for a drink, go to the next place for a drink, and just do that the whole night. So it's different. It's like I said, each place if you're a wedding or whatever, it's different. Yeah, you have to be prepared. John, what do you do?
I pay it. The timing of the timing and such is. I probably get back to closer to what Dan was saying early on in his when he was talking about it, that throwing out the hits and trying to catch them. It used to be that I would throw out a little bit and sprinkle them in, and now it's gotten to the point where it's like hitting them in that first 2 hours with all the big hits, because if I can get them and they're up there dancing and such, they're going to be leaving by 10 o'clock. It's been an 8-hour shift by that time, so I've gone that direction more with weddings. And yes, that does leave you with a drunk 20 people at the very end who are kind of scratching your head of what do you play for that last half hour. But I mean,
with the wedding dance floor you guys have, I want to tie this in and get your opinion on this with the playing hits. Do you find a point in the night when it's like all the what's the word I'm looking for? All the things you have to do, the first dance, etc., are done, that you have like a 0 to 100 mile an hour point where you just got to like the hammer gets dropped? Is that something part of your world where it's not a build up, it's not a feeling, a movement, it's a firecracker, let's go sort of thing?
I like to have my time of the night kind of one goes into the other. So I don't have that. I do have something that is more on the higher energy, but I have something that's more cross generational. Like I have a small set of like, I don't know, 5-10 songs or whatever that I typically want to grab for as my first coming out of all those specialties, because I don't want anybody to kind of go, and I want it, but I want to get everybody up there. So some floor openers that tend to work well is usually my go-to, but within 4 songs, three songs, I'm definitely more. That was my cue.
I was just, you were saying to start things off with a bang, so that's what I wanted to. I'd play that.
Oh,
sorry.
MJ's the new drinking song.
Oh, is it? Sorry.
Anytime the M word is done or the HL word.
Sorry, it wasn't supposed to play that quickly, but it loaded. It was playing. It's like, I was going to shut my mic off and I didn't do it. Sorry.
I think Philly mentions a great thing that kind of flows into this talk of what we're talking about, kind of time of the night. Do you guys believe in playing a set of 5 to 6 bangers, then breaking up with a different tempo, so as not to tire people out? My personal philosophy is, I don't care. I want them dripping with sweat. I want them tired out. I want them to keep going. Yeah, I'm going to drop in a slow song, but it's not so much because I want to give them a break as much as I want to give those people who are not going to get out of their seats for anything other than a slow song a chance to get up and join in. I get the whole not tiring them out, but in the same respect, I'd rather them leave tired than to leave bored.
Yeah.
So that's more my feel on that.
So I would view that as playing 10 to 15 bangers in a row, but I'm going to probably go from 3 to 4 different genres during that time frame. Yeah. Is the flow of that, and it seems to have done very, very well. I just got a headache.
Now I will say different tempo, maybe not so much, but definitely the different genre that we talked about would be how I would change it up. But I'm not gonna be up high energy and all of a sudden drop something really low just because I want them to kind of go from dancing fast to suddenly dancing like slow.
The lucky thing today with all the slow music that's out, you can go from something that's in like the higher 130s and mix it into a song that's about 70, a hip hop song, and they beat match because they're technically half of each other. If you split it and take one way the other, and you can technically do a transition like that to go into a slower set to change the energy for a couple minutes, and then you get that whole chance to build it back up again. It's a science. You're seeing the crowd, because you can't do that all the time. You can have certain crowds, I can do this. Good example. Todd Esteep, who's one of our people that it's in our insider area, and his wife was there in Vegas. They came to see me one place I was DJing at, and the group of girls that were on the dance floor, I swear none of them were over 21. They all had to be just 21. And I said, I'm going to play this song. And I put it up on the thing. He's like, are you crazy? And I'm like, I'm telling you, this, right? I couldn't do it any other time, but right there, I said, this is going to work. He's like, there's no way. I'm like, I'm telling you, watch this. And I dropped this twerk version of the Little Einsteins theme. And they went freaking bananas because I knew they were young enough to not care what anybody thinks. And that crowd that night, they were all together. So nobody was going to judge anybody. And they went bananas, but I could not pull that off somewhere else. So that's a specific thing. That's one of my left turn songs. That, you know, that's why I talk about songs that are so far off that you make a left turn and everybody's like, whoa, what do we do? And then you turn right back in. But you got to read the crowd. Yeah.
Let's talk about attendees a little bit. The people in attendance to the event. How much do their age, their demographics, the makeup of the crowd, does that affect your picking of that next song?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, I've been surprised by Grandma who's been out there dancing to something that I never thought she would. But, and I'm sure most of us have had, you know, clientele or attendees that are suddenly on the floor and you're going, really? Like, I thought you'd be hiding in a corner, like crying at this song. But no, I mean, you have to have a starting spot. You have to build based upon what you're seeing and recognize what's going to be their biggest attraction.
The wedding side's a little different because I always say that, again, in my science that I do all this, it's even more than the people. It's where that place is physically at. Now, like for the weddings, a little different because if someone has a wedding, usually you're getting a different demographic, like a broad demographic that's coming to that wedding. With the clubs and stuff, literally where it's at in the city, whether it's a place where people bar hop or are stuck there, or you get locals or people travel, that in itself can completely change what you play from what you would play 3 doors down. So it's not just even the people, it's the physical place, the geographical location of that dance floor or place you're at. But people, and again, everything I say is not a rule. Just like Dan said, you will get surprised by people that you'll go, you digging this for real? You know, I'm like, okay, I'll keep it going. You know, so yeah, that's all that whole thing about a DJ having to read. You have to be able to look at the crowd, read the crowd as it changes. What I missed there?
Chat.
Oh,
Chat room,
I bet you I could find a twerk version of Huey Lewis out there. I bet I can.
There probably is one. That would be great.
I think
I'm scared by John dancing to it. That's all.
I'm scared of that myself. Yeah, that'd be bad. So the attendees, of course, obviously have an effect on song choice. What about requests? Whether it's the request from a couple, maybe it's people coming up with requests. But let's take the request from the bride and groom in a wedding situation, but let's take requests from the crowd. How does that figure in to your song choice selections?
I'm gonna start off and then let Dan run with this. My opinion is also depends again where you're at and what you're doing. That's a big deciding factor for me, Dan.
Oh, that was it. That's all you're gonna say. Okay.
Well, I'll probably say something more, but I think you can make that a little bit more eloquent than I, because it's there again. To me, there's no rule to that, because at some places I'm going to be like, screw you, I'm the DJ. And there's places that people will ask for stuff and bug me for stuff that I don't want to play, that I'll literally play the opposite and stand there and look at them because they know I'm playing something to tick them off, and I watch them leave. And then as soon as they walk out the door, I'll play the song as they're walking away to tick them off. You understand, in my business, I was talking about this a couple weeks ago when we had our questionnaire night, and Howie asked, one of the questions I asked, well, what are the best and worst things about being a DJ? And myself and the other person that was there are club DJs, and we both said the people are the worst thing, because they are not on their best behavior. They are self-absorbed. They think everything's about them, and they're drunk to the point they can't tell what they're doing. So in the clubs, it's a little different than the wedding. I think in the wedding, Dan, expand upon this, you are paid to play songs.
Yeah, but you know what the funny thing is? I have sometimes the same philosophy. Somebody's coming up and asking for something, and I'm just not vibing it, for whatever reason. It drives me nuts. And a lot of times I'm like, it's not danceable. Luke Combs is, has a lot of great songs, and MJ, you're gonna like who? What?
What's that?
I have remixes. Come on,
Okay, there we go. Fair enough.
because I found a
the
really
twerk
good
remix.
remix of I.
No, not Luke Combs. I'm sorry. Luke Combs has some danceable stuff, but like Chris Stapleton and stuff, and they're asking for it. And I'm like, it's just not danceable. Like you want to ask this during cocktail, you want to ask this during dinner. I've got some tracks I'm going to throw in. You want to ask this during open dancing, and I'm going to go.
I have a dancey version of I Hope by I don't know the girl's name, country singer. It was on the charts forever.
Yep.
Yeah, and I have a dancey version of that because it's they may ask for it, and that gives me an option to play something that's not a slow dance.
But what I struggle with is when they come up and they ask for it and I'm just not feeling it. So a lot of times I'll try and just like, listen, it's not really danceable. Let's find something that works here. But what I look at is when somebody comes up and asks, I'm always watching the floor. So the question is, how much have they been on the floor tonight? If they've been on the floor all night and you want to hear something, yeah, let's do it. Let's have some fun. I'm willing to give it a shot. And if it's, unless it's just horrible and I know ahead of time, but if it's one of those that I go, yeah, maybe, or you know what, definitely, I just wasn't thinking about that song right now. Oh yeah, it's on and I'm getting it as soon as I can. It's sliding into that folder. Be ready to play this now. If you haven't come near the floor, if you kind of been standing on the side and you've just been drinking your beer all night long and you haven't come up to say hi or, not to me necessarily, but to anybody other than, no, forget it. You haven't put in the work to earn the right to ask for a song. Come on. I mean, that's really what it is. You've got to put in some work. Now, I've had some people come up and request songs before ever the night starts. Listen, hey, I know we're not to that point yet. I got a song request I'd love you to be able to play if you get a chance, later on. I love those kind of requests because they know, they want to hear something and they're willing to ask. It's not like that last second type of mentality. But I will also say, if somebody's by the floor, they're not necessarily on it, but they're kind of jive into it and they just haven't quite. So they come up and they ask for a song. That's another one where I'm willing to give them a shot because they're kind of there. And if you play that song or something like it, it's going to bring them out. And so sometimes, again, it's just all, like MJ has said, it's all about watching. It's all about, taking in what's happening. And I'm always looking for those people and where they've been. And if I don't see you in by the floor and you come up and ask out of nowhere, I don't care if you tell me the bride wanted it or not.
I've been getting over the past couple of years a word, and I'm curious if you guys get it on your end of stuff. And I love the way they say this. Instead of coming up and saying, I have a request, they will come up and say, hey, I have a song suggestion. And to me, that is so much, it's gentler. It's not a demand because a lot of people say request. They expect you to play it and get mad when you don't. And so when I have people come up saying, I have a song suggestion, chances are, like Dan said, by saying that, they're going to earn some extra points with me and I might just play their song.
That is not something I don't think I've ever heard. Yeah. I would love that. Exactly. Like somebody says it like that. I'm seriously taking it into consideration because it's even just like the idea of saying please.
Yeah.
Like courtesy behind it. Like I'm not demanding it. Talking about teen events and a couple of people have talked about the, high school events, just, being tricky and different things like that. I had a request list from a school and it's the last time I worked at the school because I didn't play their request list only. That came from a small selection of students in a class that has 400 students. And the song collection came from 15 to 20 kids. I'm sorry that I didn't play only your request list. And you know what? It was like, I'm not there. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't need to deal with that. If that's the way if that was the philosophy of like, this is not a request list. This is a demand / playlist.
Mm-hmm. See, and I look at it this way is that I prefer when people come up there and say, you must play my song next, because that way I don't have to think. All I have to do is just take the song, put it in, and it just alleviates so much stress in my life. So I really appreciate when people come up there who are probably much better DJs than I am and tell me what to play next. So it makes life good.
The interesting thing is you could actually, somebody who does that, somebody who comes in and says that, you legitimately play their song next. There's two things that happens from that. One is then they get the idea that then they're going to be able to do this all night long. Yes. And you're going to make them happy for 30 seconds. Or the thing that irks me the most is they say that you play it and they already left the room. And it's like, You asked me to play it, and then you immediately turned around and
the
left.
room, yeah.
You even said play it next. Yeah, whatever.
Hey, my friends and I are leaving. Will you play our song next? I'll play it if you stay. Well, what do you mean? I said, well, if you're leaving, go ask the next DJ.
Yeah,
but if
where
you're
did
staying,
you
I'll
go?
play it for you. Otherwise, bye-bye.
See ya. Let's see. I've got 3 more little areas here. Let's see. We came out of requests, so let's talk about important people at the event. Now, this
Sorry.
could be in the bar situation. It could be the manager of the bar or the club. It could be the head bartender. It could be some of the waitresses that would be considered, that they've got their musical style. Does that fit into that? Or obviously at a wedding, you've got the family, the wedding party and family. How much does that their musical taste fit into your selection? MJ, I'll have you start there with the club side.
This is what I tell
gonna be-
young DJs. You're going to be playing more towards the manager and the owner than you ever thought you ever would. There are places I've DJ'd at where the place was literally packed, line out the door. I say to the owner at the end of the night, I said, it was a good night. He's like, I don't know. I haven't seen the take yet. I'm like, oh, okay. And then he'll come back and go, the people that were here, packed house, line out the door, just weren't buying enough. So we're going to change the format of music. See if we can get people in here who'll buy some more drinks. So they don't think of it as a style, a place, a groove that you're getting into, a vibe. None of that matters. All they care is how much money are we making. And so you have to find the ones that care about that, and you have to tilt to them. And there's other ones that are clueless and have a bartender in their ear and saying, hey, you should do this. And I'll look at them and I'll go, bartender so-and-so said that, didn't they? And they're like, how'd you know? I said, I've been doing this for 30 years. So I know when somebody said something that's out of your characteristic as the owner. He's like, you're right. Do whatever you want to do. So you have to learn to play these games, and you have to sometimes step back, let someone fail, because there was a place I was DJing at, got a new manager, wanted to change the music. I told him, I said, if you guys do this, this is going to happen. No way, no way. And I said, okay, I'm not saying I quit. My schedule's full. I can't be here for a while. You guys have to find somebody else. 2 months later, I get a call. Can you come back? We're going back to the old style. I'm like, yeah, we can talk about this. I watched them fail. So you got to step back, and because it's their place. So it's their choice of what they want to do. So you have to play the chess game with them to the best of your ability. Another place I DJ'd at, they told this one DJ, we hate him, we don't like him. And so we told him, I told him, I said, do not stress over this. I said, trust me, it will change. A month later, they came back and said, we like him. Can we get him more? We don't. I'm like, absolutely. So it's like a month later, he was all depressed. And I'm like, wait for it. A month later, he's like, so I'm the main. I said, you're the main guy. Saturday night, go for it.
Funny. Dan.
So with weddings and families and that, does it factor in? Yes. Does it factor in a lot? Kind of, sort of. I don't have a lot of family members that decide to jump in on the request list other than maybe they've told them ahead of time and the bride and groom has put it on their list. Like that happens more often than it does in the moment. They just don't seem to really kind of be doing that. Where I get a little bit more of the family jumping in is in siblings. And I'll play along if when I'm introducing that bridal party, I happen to notice that it was the maid of honor and not the matron. And oh, by the way, she's there with a guy tonight at this wedding, having a great time. Yeah, I'm auditioning for my next event. So, I'm going to cater to that a little bit more. But in the same respect, I still take it with a grain of salt. Where have they been? Have they been on the floor? Have they been having a good time? Is the request any good? Those are the types of things that really factor into my mind. Now, I will say, I have a heart for the moms, and not in a weird way. But if the moms are asking me for a song, I'm more likely to just kind of cater, because moms, by the end of the night, if mom loves you, you are the best ever. She's been stressed out about this event the whole night long and the whole day or weeks leading up to it. You put her at ease and you played her favorite song. You're done. You're good. You're golden. So again, that doesn't really factor in because I don't have a lot that ask, but when they do, again, those are the thought process that I go through, as it comes to me.
this is going to be kind of a variation, and it starts actually connected closer to what MJ was into. And it was when the goals or the desires of your audience on your dance floor and the desires or goals of the organizer of the event are different. How does that play into your song selection? Dance floor wants one thing. The organizer of the event wants something else.
I can tell you right now, there's a place I DJ on a regular basis, College Bar. They don't want a certain crowd there, so they don't allow me to play anything slow. So no hip hop of any sort, and that's all the college kids want to hear. So I have to find 120 BPM dance versions of Drake songs to make the crowd happy and make the manager happy by not playing slow hip hop songs. So again, you've got to figure out, I'm still getting a paycheck from this. I know a lot of the crowd's going to leave as long as they're continually, because like there was one night, I'm telling you, I switched to this, and then I went to, like I said, the fast songs of Drake, and at the end of the night, it's nice going on. I'm like, people are leaving. I'm like, I'm going to lose my job. I know this, but I was doing what they asked.
Yeah.
End of the night, the manager come up and said, that was perfect. That's exactly what we want. And I'm like, oh my God. I didn't laugh, but I'm like,
yeah,
paycheck clears. So
Dan,
you got to work it.
The desires and goals of the audience or the people on your dance floor don't match those of the organizer of the event. May not be so much of a wedding, but it could be. How does that fit into your playlist selection?
I was still thinking some of the bar situation.
And that, yeah, you could certainly take it from how you'd handle that.
So yeah, I mean, with what MJ was saying, I mean, you do want to kind of keep them, but it is so tough because you don't want. I mean, all eyes are on you, and if you're in a spot where you're approachable, and you've just been doing this in MJ's side, let's say, you know, it's all these fast and it's upbeat and they just want the slow, and school dances are very much the same way. Like they're wanting you to be there. The organizer is telling you like, no, like we want to make sure that they're and it's like you're struggling, you know, right and left, just trying to figure out how do you make both ends happy, because somebody's going to be ticked no matter what. And the bad thing is, it's like, depending upon the event, it's almost like you almost want to cater to the dance floor a little bit, because if not, they're in your face, and it's like, it just drives you nuts. Now, with weddings, I don't really see too much of that, because one of the things that I have a conversation with my couples ahead of time is, you know, what are you wanting your guests to say at the end of the night? Like, what do you want them coming out talking about your event? Oh, I want them having fun. Okay, to 5 different people, that could mean 10 different things. So what does a fun night mean for you? And then that kind of also helps me gauge whether this is a couple that I want to pursue, or whether this is a couple that I want to say, you know what, maybe we're not the best fit. And with weddings, you kind of have that ability to do that in advance.
How often do you try to maneuver a couple to go a little bit more, you know, stuff that everyone would like? Not too often, because I usually don't have a lot of couples that say we just want to chill. Like I get a couple every once in a while. I had one last year, but they were in the same respect. I was like, okay, but what do you want me to do if you're guests? Oh, we're fine if they're on the floor. It's just be aware that we're not. And then instantly I say, like, listen, just be aware that if you're not, they're not. Mm-hmm. Like if you're nowhere near the floor, they're not going to be anywhere near the floor. And they're like, that's okay. You know, we want to be able to have a fun time for those that want to dance, and for those that want to vibe, we want to, you know, we have that. And it's like, all right, as long as we're clear on that. And so a lot of times that gets steered even more so in advance. And I think also some of that comes down to, I have a great relationship with probably a handful to 2 handfuls of venues that have seen me enough times that they know the type of crowd that I create. And so when they're meeting with a couple and talking with them, they get a vibe from them. They refer me if I kind of gel with them. So I will say I've kind of lucked out that I don't have to determine too much, because either the venues or even sometimes my reviews have weeded out the couples that are not going to be that style.
I get that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about reading the dance floor, reading the crowd, reading the couple way before anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you have to ask those questions, because you want to know what the expectation is, because if you don't, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you wait till the night of to get an understanding of what they want, Like it's just there's too much, in my viewpoint, there's too much at stake. It's not like it's a club or a bar that has already set up this expectation. You know, every Thursday night it's this type of night. Every Friday night it's this type of night. And, you know, it's easy to gauge that before you ever walk in those doors. And in the same respect, worst case scenario, as MJ said, they probably can just walk across the street to someplace else. This is a wedding. They're not walking across the street to the other wedding.
Yeah.
So you need to kind of have that set up and figure it out in advance.
Excellent. We've got one more. Before we get to that, I want to give you guys a heads up. Now, next week, we're going to be starting a new kind of a show segment, what have you, on DJN TV. We're going to be, I think if this works, Dan, I think we're going to kind of stick at this 9 o'clock hour for you, if that works for you. And then at 10 o'clock Eastern on Monday nights, we're going to have Hanging Out with Howie, Howie Darkstar. He's going to be doing segments in the chill room, which we were doing that in December. But on Monday night, Howie's going to have a topic, and it'll be at 10 o'clock Eastern. He'll be recording about a 20-minute segment of that with the topic, and you can come in there and share and listen to other DJs and have some fun hanging out as part of our chill room night. After the show tonight, you can go out to the chill room, and I just put the link in the comments area. But you can pop out there and kind of hang out and get a feel for what it's like in the chill room if you've never been there before. But next Monday night, we'll be starting with Hanging Out with Howie on Monday nights. So, gentlemen, our last one. Does this matter in your picking the next song?
No.
Okay, great. Well, it's a great show. The singers, whether it's a female singer set, if there's artists you put together, if there's artists you don't put together, does the person behind the song, whether it's the singer, artist, band, what have you, does that matter in your song selection choices?
I say for me, 0. It has to do with the song, because I know artists that have 2 or 3 songs that are crappy, and then they have like 1 or 2 that are like gold on the dance floor. So it's more about the song. You know, like I said, look how many songs Prince put out, and how many can you actually play?
Right. Yeah.
You know? So it's at least not to me, but I know people that it does, because I know certain people that I don't like female singers, or I don't like this, and they won't play stuff. I have a friend that won't play Pitbull because he just doesn't like Pitbull, and I'm like, what the freak is wrong with you? But hey, to each his own. I won't play country, so there's a lot of people that are looking at me going, what the freak's wrong with you? So not for me. Dan?
As far as a sequential type of thing, I think I do it more subconsciously, where I don't stick with a bunch of female artists in a row. You get away a little bit more with male artists, because then you have groups that you can throw in. And again, it comes back to that radio mentality of trying to make sure that you're not too much back to back. Where I focus more is avoiding the same artist within a small set. You know, if they're a secondary artist, then sometimes, you know, like they're the featured artist, sometimes it's a little bit more different, because otherwise you'd play 4 Pitbull songs total in a night, and, you know, he's on 8,000 different ones. But so I look at it more from that standpoint of I want them spaced, you know, at least 20 minutes, half an hour apart, unless they're just a real small featured piece in it. And again, it kind of also depends upon how recognizable they are within a track. So for example, Demi Lovato's on a couple different tracks lately where she's been the featured artist, not the main artist. So that you could get away with more than Mr. 305, who's, you know, every 5 seconds.
I kind of try to avoid that, but like Dan said, I'll do ones where they're close together. Like I used to be able to do, because to me, they're on the same cadence. When I say cadence, it's not the BPM, it's how the beat is played. Is Despacito and The One, because Justin Bieber's in both of them, and you could say, oh, that's Justin Bieber, you can't play, you know, Justin Bieber back to back, but there's so many artists on both of them that you can get away with that, where certain DJs would say, no man, you can't play, that's another Justin Bieber song. I'm like, well, he's one of the other 5 that's on there. So I'll do that. So like if it's, let's say it's a such and such song, and it's the next song is by a different person but featuring such and such, I'll play that sometimes. Just all depends upon the groove. If it fits in there, just crack it. DJs are about the only people that care about that stuff. People in the crowd usually don't.
Just don't care.
Well, and I think it comes from, like I said, it comes from the radio standpoint, which is the idea is if you don't like that artist, you've now given them 2 of them really close together, if not back to back. And so it creates that type of feeling for those that don't. Now, the flip could be said, if that's like your favorite artist, then you just made their day. You played 2 of that artist back to back. So, you know, but yeah, you said some DJs wouldn't. I'd be one that wouldn't. He's too prominent in both of those for me to go. Yeah, I'm going to use him in both.
Because technically, Despacito is not a Justin Bieber song.
No,
And the One is not a Justin Bieber song.
right.
DJ Khaled and I just blanked on Despacito.
Fonzie.
Crapalicious.
Louis.
Yeah.
Louis.
So technically, I'm playing two different artists.
Technically.
Technically.
Look at the way it's labeled. It's technically right. Leave me alone.
Oh, trust me, if someone would walk up to me and point that out, I'd be like, look, two different artists. Look, two different artists. It's usually a DJ that would say that, and that would be my purpose of irritating them. And then usually I would follow up with a third Justin Bieber song just to tick them off and get them to leave so I can go back to DJing without them in my ear.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys for going through and answering and giving some insight into your thought behind picking music at events. If you guys go into the chill room tonight, you're going to see some new graphics and things that are in there. First off, we find that we've got our list of all of our sponsors that'll be with us for 2021. I've got a few of our regulars. We had DJ Event Planner, Electro Voice, DJ Trivia, ProX Direct, NLFX Pro, Promo Only, Odyssey Cases, JMoz Lighting, and iDJ Pool are all sponsoring DJ and TV shows for this year. So when you are out there doing business, please go and check them out when it's time for you to do that type of stuff. They're the ones who help bring these shows to you. So in the chill room, djntv.com/chill, we've got all the links are there. You'll be able to see the videos it flows through. So just some cool stuff. Secondly, then on January 18th, you're going to see a little thing that talks about our little mini expo type things we're doing this year. Generally, once a month, we're going to have a night where we're going to do some educational content. And our first one for January is going to be January 18th. It's a Monday night. Kristen Wilson is going to be kicking it off, talking about how to be making more money from fewer events, which we may see fewer events this year, and how to be able to optimize our income potential on those types of events. So she's got a really great little presentation. I've kind of gone through some things with that, and it looks fabulous. I'm excited for that. And that'll be coming up on the 18th, and we'll have kind of a sign up for those of you who want to watch that one, because we will stream it. But if you want to be able to watch it in replay, that's where you'll have to be kind of signed into the system. So other than that, tomorrow night Brian and Jay will be back with us on Tuesday night, and I think that's it for this week.
Wednesday.
Oh yes, and
I don't know what I'm doing. Like John said about moving times and different things. I have some things I need to pass across his plate.
Yeah,
but I'm definitely going to keep doing stuff Wednesday nights, my nights. But I'm not sure what it's going to be, how it's going to be. It's a new year, so we'll see. What comes. It's an exciting time to try some new stuff.
Exactly. Hey, there's the thumbnail. Jimmy's got the thumbnail done. Excellent. Looks really good. We'll have to put it on a video now. It was a busy day as we were getting the final graphics and such ready for the shows tonight. We get the things done, it's rendered, and then Jimmy, we need to make a change. Get the shows, re-edit, fix it, edit, render. Jimmy, here's another change. It was that type of day. So Jimmy's probably going to need a good hot chocolate tonight before he goes to bed.
We love you, Jimmy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy, for your work on that.
Yay.
But that's it. Dan, I think it's time to take us home.
Well, on that note, do want to thank everybody for taking some time to join us tonight. And by the way, those of you that were chiming in the chat room, a lot of great comments tonight. Yes, I can read and talk at the same time, sometimes effectively and sometimes really badly. But I do want to thank everybody for taking time to join us, being a part of it. MJ, thank you for joining us as well. It's not Wednesday and he's here on a Monday. It's great. But anyway, check out the chill room. Again, djntv.com/chill. You have yourself a wonderful night. See you next time.
Bye, everybody.